Well, hello YouTube, this is Retta. I have a lot of questions sometimes about some of my spiritual guides or whatever. And right now my main one is my grandmother. My grandmother, which I just found out about her this summer. And she's been, since I laid eyes on her picture, when I found her doing my ancestry, there was a connection. No, as I looked at her, I felt like I knew this woman my whole life. And instantly, I had impressions. I also instantly felt her emotions of finding me, of loving me. And because there was a lot of things. I was born in a time where I'm biracial, so the time when I was born, it was kind of like very no-no for my mother to, marry, let alone have children by a black man. So, she always told me that the family kind of disowned her and stuff. And this woman, I had the impression that she loved me. And even though she didn't know me, because this is my great-great-great-grandmother, that she would have loved me. And this is her way. She's been around me every day. She's here right now. I feel her. And this was her way of her being here for me now. As one of my guides, she's kind of pushed everybody to the side. She came out as the Ace of Wands for me. And she's very much the Ace of Wands. She lets her presence be known. She pushes all my other guides or other spiritual beings that I do have around me aside, and she wants to be in the forefront. She feels like she's my guardian, my protector. She wasn't there to do it in the past, and she's here now to do it. So, I'm going to do a reading with her. I want to see what she has to tell me. Lately, before she told me to stop spending money. So let's see if she's still saying that and change. And then I use this messages for beyond for her to give me a quick message or so. So I'm going to do a reading with her. Like I said, it was an instant connection. As soon as my eyes laid on her photo, it was like, even though she's been gone many of years, it felt like she was right there with me, and I felt her since that day. I feel her constantly. Anytime I think of her, I get the chills, and it goes from all the way up my back on. It feels like a warm embrace. So I'm just going to pull some cards and see what comes up. Okay, and I'm going to pull one of these. I guess this message, she's saying, my death was painless. Please don't worry or hold on to guilt. So right now, I'm feeling that a man, the King of Pentacles, which was her husband. I feel like maybe these were, his beliefs. These were his beliefs of maybe the race thing, and it caused a lot of confusion, pain, heartache. It caused a lot of that. He was focused on the wrong things. You see, this to me, he's looking at this, so he's looking this way at the Seven of Cups. I'm thinking he was focused on all these things and not what's important. He wasn't focused on, the journey or the children the way that he was supposed to, or, things like that. He wasn't focused on that. He was focused on these other things. I feel like this right here is my grandmother. And I feel that, these are the children. She was an empress. Even though she showed herself before as the Queen of Wands, she's showing me now that she's my empress. She's my protector. She's surrounded me. I'm in her embrace. She's feeling like maybe her hands were tied at the time. Because My mother's mother died when my mother was young, too. My mother's mother died when my mother was like 8 years old or 9 years old. And so another family raised my mother. I think my mother was the youngest. So another outside family was raised. And I feel like my grandmother is saying her hands were tied. You know, she should have did more. But this man, this King of Pentacles, even though he was a good grandfather in some aspects, when you did what he wanted you to do or whatever, but when he shunned you, and I feel like he shunned, my mother was this fool, this child, and they shunned her. And when he shunned you, he shunned you. And, you know, my grandmother did have love for my mother and her mother. I'm feeling like my mother and her mother. But her hands were tied. She couldn't do more because of this man. He was the one who worked. He was the king of the household, stuff like that. So her hands were tied. So she had a lot of regrets. She had a lot of regrets and pain. And she didn't face them, you know. She didn't face the thing. She didn't do what she was supposed to do. She didn't fight. You know, she has a lot of regrets. And she's been in mourning. Anything else? Okay. So, like I said before, so when she passed, you know, she passed in a lot of despair. You know, even though she wasn't in, her death was painless, what she's saying, she felt that she should have did more. You know, the Ten of Wands, you know, she kind of feels like she had a metaphysical, a piece of her was killed because she didn't follow her heart, and she allowed, you know, them to shun my mother and stuff like that when my mother was young. And I think the shunning came way beyond. They should have did more for her. Not only when she got older with the different races, was when she was young. She was a baby. A family member didn't raise her. She was raised by some other people, you know. And my grandmother, you know, felt that she should have did more. Maybe she was too old at the time, but she felt she should have did more. And in her death, you know, she has more awareness. She's my guide. For me, this high priestess, in her death, she is my guide. You know, she's my connection to the other side. And it's justice. She's my protector. That's what I feel. Let me see if there's any other message you want to give me, Grandma. Tears cleanse the soul. So I feel, whoops, I just dropped a whole deck. I feel like she had a lot of regret. And this is her way. Her being my guide and leading me the way is her way of saying I'm here and I'm sorry. Well, thank you, Grandma. Have a good day, everybody.